Episode number 118. Hello, you're listening to the Career Changemaker podcast. Having the courage to leave a career that you have worked hard to build and try something else can be tough. So in each episode, we dive into key career change strategies so that you have a clear understanding of what is required to transition into a new role or a new industry without feeling like you have to start at the bottom or have to take a massive pay cut, because ain't nobody got time for that. If you are ready for frank and honest discussions about how to become a career change maker, keep listening. I'm your host, lawyer turned career strategist and executive coach, Janine Esbrand. Are you eager to get unstuck and figure out what you would actually like to do with your career next? Have you been going around in circles trying to figure it out but getting no further forward? If so, you're going to love today's sponsor, my signature group program, the Career Clarity Academy. Changing career direction can feel overwhelming and daunting, but it doesn't have to be. In my signature program, we give you clear, step-by-step, proven processes for getting completely clear on what it is that you want to do and understanding how you can leverage your existing experience and position yourself to attract and land a dream role. To find out more, head over to lightboxcoaching.com/academy. Hello. How are you doing? I hope you are well. So I'm jumping on today because I want to talk to you about a topic that came up today. So my question is, are your goals too big? I want to talk about this topic today because I had a coaching call with some of my clients today, and it was really interesting because we were talking about goals. We were talking about some of the things that they want to achieve as it pertains to making a career change. And one of the things that came up was the fact that when you set your big goals, sometimes those big goals can feel so big, so overwhelming, so far away that it actually prevents you from taking action. So when you say, I want to completely change career, I want to do something completely different, I want to follow my passion, it's really difficult to make that tangible if you just stop there. If you just say, I want to do something that I love to do. It's like, okay, there needs to be more, because what action are you actually going to take to move towards that if your goal is still vague and if you haven't really broken down the steps that are required to get there? So in order for you to be successful in moving towards a goal, you really have to break down the steps. What are the steps that are required to get me to the end goal so that you know what it is you are supposed to be doing, firstly. And then secondly, you need to break down the steps so that you know that you're on your way. And then ultimately, you know when you've arrived. So when someone says something along the lines of, I just want to do something that's going to make me happy, what does that actually mean? So happiness to me and happiness to you could mean two different things. So if you don't quantify and really specify what that looks like and what that means, then when in the process are you going to know that, now I'm happy? Now I'm happy with what it is that I'm doing, or now I'm enjoying what it is that I'm doing. So it takes a little more work up front for you to really say, I'm not just going to just set the goal just randomly. I'm going to set the goal and then get specific with myself about, what does that goal actually look like? Because when you just say to yourself, I will one day do that. One day I will make the moves that I want to make. One day I will take the steps that are required to do X, Y, or Z. When you say that, oftentimes what happens with that goal is it gets parked somewhere in the future. So yeah, I know I'm not loving what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to do something about it, and probably like in the next, 3 to 5 years. So that's in my 3 to 5 year plan that I'm going to make the moves that I know that I want to make. So you set it, and it feels good because you set it and you said, yeah, that's something I'm going to achieve. And you've put it somewhere in the future, but then you've just left it there and given it no more thought for now. But then what happens when 1 year goes by, 2 years goes by, you're on year 3, you're getting towards the 4 and the 5, and it's like, well, what steps have you actually taken towards making that happen? So now you've arrived at that time frame that you set when you said 3 or 5 years, but you haven't actually taken any steps to move that forward because you didn't break down the steps in the first place. So here's the thing that I want you to really think about that might be a bit different from the way that you're used to, like, setting the goals. Because when you say, I want to achieve this, oftentimes you set the goal and you stop there. But what I want to encourage you to do is say, but why? Like, what is it about that goal that is attractive to you? Why do I want to set that goal? And then who do I become, or what am I able to do once I achieve that goal? So looking beyond the goal is really important, because then you get to understand, like, what is my actual motivation for this? So if you're saying, I want to move into working in a different environment or working in a different way, why is that important? Why is that important? Is it because you require more, or you desire more autonomy? Is it because you want to work a shorter week so you have time to do other things that you're interested in? Is it because you want to do something that you're passionate about, or something that is impactful, or you want to leave a legacy? Like, what are the reasons that sit behind the goal that you're setting? And the reason why it's powerful to really do that is, one, it's going to help with that motivation piece. It's going to help you to not just set the goal and just leave it there, because you know your why, you know your reason why you're striving towards that. And then secondly, it's going to help you to recognize that there may well be some changes that you can make that mean that it doesn't have to be in the 3 or 5 year plan, that it can be brought forward a lot quicker. Because if you're saying, there's certain shifts that are going to happen once I achieve this, like once I get to that goal, it means that I'm going to be able to live differently, or feel differently, or be different. Then you'll be able to say, hold on a minute, like, these are some of the things that I really want. And is it required for me to wait until I get to that goal for me to start experiencing some of that right now? So there could be some tweaks and some changes that you can make in different areas of your life that can help you to get closer to what it is you want to feel and how it is you want to be showing up when you're setting that goal. And also, you might realize that when I'm saying I want to make a complete career change and I want to do something completely different, you may recognize that actually, when I'm noting down the reason why I want to make a move and what I truly desire to feel and be like, there's actually some things I could do that aren't so far off. So instead of me making this massive big change and leap into something else and feeling like I need to do lots of research and I need to retrain and I need to go back and I need to do all these things before I can take a step, instead of doing that, you might recognize that, you know what, if I just made a few tweaks to how I'm working or where I'm working in terms of my environment or the actual type of role that I'm doing, that might do it for me. That might be enough to put me into the position that I ultimately want to get to and why I'm setting the goal in the first place. So I'm going to share an example with you from a client that I worked with before. She went through the Career Clarity Academy. And as we were going through the whole process of really identifying what it is you want to do right now and doing the research that is required and collecting the data that you need to make an informed decision, she actually realized that the role that she had set as her ideal role wasn't necessarily the role that she needed, and that there was something that was a lot more similar to what she was doing already that she didn't even know existed before. So once she understood that that role was available and that it existed, it meant that her transition wasn't going to be a big leap that took years. It was going to be something that she could do over the course of 1 year. She just needed to get some more experience in different areas. And once she gained that experience, she would be positioned to transition into this role that she now identified as being a perfect fit, because it ticked the boxes in terms of allowing her to do the type of work and be the type of person and show up in the type of way that she really desired. So for her, it wasn't so much that I need to make this massive career change. It's I can actually make a slight pivot. And when I do that, it's going to put me in the place that I really want to be. Right? But she wouldn't have been able to identify that if she hadn't taken the time to consider, well, why do I want to make this change in the first place? And what is it about me setting this goal that's making me feel like once I get there, I will be happy or I will be feeling more fulfilled? So I want to encourage you to do the same and really think about, is it really required for me to make this big jump and this big leap that I'm saying I want to make, but I'm not actually taking the steps towards? Is that required for me to get to where it is I want to be in my life and in my career? Or Is there an alternative path? Is there an alternative because I've identified why it is I'm feeling dissatisfied where I am? I've identified why I feel that way. And so then I know, like, what is it that I need to be moving and changing and shifting so that I can be showing up feeling like the time that I'm spending at work is time well spent, feeling like I'm making an impact in the work that I'm doing, feeling like the years of training and dedication that I've made already to this particular career path is all well spent. It's all valuable. It's all things that I'm going to be able to leverage and use going forward, as opposed to saying, I've spent all this time building up my career, working in this way, and I need to just ditch all that and do something completely different. Sometimes it isn't required for you to do something completely different. It's just that you need to be in a position to say, do you know what? I want to make a change, and I want to make a change for this reason or these reasons. And then from there, I'm able to work backwards and say, well, what is actually required? What steps would I need to take in order for me to make that happen? So when we're talking about, are your goals too big? It's not so much like you should be playing small. You should absolutely be playing big. But when you set those big goals, one, you need to know why you've set them. And two, you need to know how to break them down so that you can take the steps that are required to get you there. Ultimately. So that's really what I wanted to share with you today, because as I was talking to my clients and people were sharing, we talk about 90-day goals. What is it that you want to achieve in the next 90 days? So we were kind of mapping out what the plan is between now and the end of the year. And some of the goals that they were throwing out, I'm like, okay, that's good. So like, can we get a bit more granular than that? Like, okay, if that's the goal, then like what needs to happen in order for that goal to be a reality? And then what needs to happen by these particular markers for you to know that you're on track and for you to know exactly what action you need to be taking. And so when you do that and when you approach things in that way, you move away from just having a journal full of all of these goals that you brainstorm at the beginning of the year and say, like, I would love to do these things this year. You move away from setting those lists and then revisiting them in December and saying, oh, actually, like, I haven't moved any further forward towards those. I'm going to put them on the list for next year. You move away from doing that and you move towards being able to look at that list and check things off and say, oh yeah, I set that goal at the beginning of the year and now I'm in that new role. Like I said, I wanted to move into a new role at the beginning of the year and now I'm in there because you took the steps that were required consistently over the course of the time so that you could be where it is you set out to be. All right, I'm going to head off now. I will speak to you very, very soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Career Changemaker podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love for you to let me know what your biggest takeaway has been. So head over to Instagram, tag me at Career Changemaker, and let me know your thoughts. What did you like most about today's episode? I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, keep working towards your career goals, and we will speak very, very soon.